Time to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. With me in the studio is Jide Ologun, lawyer and social development advocate. Jide, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Great. And on Skype from Enugu is PR consultant and public affairs analyst Ambrose Igboke. Ambrose, good morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning. This one you guys are always pairing me with Jide. I hope I'm safe.
You are safe. You are safe. You are safe wherever you are. Okay, let's begin from the Blueprint newspaper now. Blueprint says Matawale's bombshell. Power-seeking politicians gaining from Nigeria's security crisis. Okay, that's what you see on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper. Injustice fueling southern Kaduna killings. Catholic bishops are saying that as we're bringing weapons, aircraft from Jordan, China, and United States. President Buhari is revealing that to Nigerians. Okay, from the Blueprint, let's go to News Direct now. News Direct says governors demand bailout for security as Buhari announces arrival of new weapons from Jordan, China, and the U.S. All right. From there, let's go to the Daily Trust. Daily Trust says governors to Buhari give us bailout for security, request not justifiable. CSOs are saying this, and President queries security chiefs over terrorists' weapons. Okay. Then from there, let's go to governors seek bailout from federal government to tackle insecurity. That's on the Leadership newspaper. Leadership and a link insurgency, banditry, others to poverty, unemployment. Say federal government doesn't need appropriation to fund security. Security issues should not be politicized. Matawale is saying this, and Catholic bishops sue for peace. All right, all that on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. From there, let's go to the national economy. Federal government plans 300 industrial parks nationwide, woos investors. That's some hope in there on the national economy. From there, let's go to Daily Times, which is the last paper we're looking at now. CBN's exchange rates unification alarms economists and manufacturers. Okay, CBN's exchange rate unification alarms economists, manufacturers. That's the Daily Times. Okay, beyond and besides all of these issues now, another issue on the front burner that Nigerians have been talking about and debating is the issue of deregistration of political parties by INEC. But now the Court of Appeal has set aside the judgment of the Federal High Court upholding the decision by the Independent National Electoral Commission to deregister 22 political parties in Nigeria. Now, in the judgment delivered by a four-member panel led by Justice Shodikpe Lokulo, the court held that the deregistration was illegal, having failed to follow due process. INEC insists that the parties breached their requirements for registration as they failed to win at least 25% of votes cast in one state of the federation during the 2019 presidential election. All right. Now, I have my guests here, but before I come to you, Jide, to see things from the legal perspective, let me reach Ambrose in here. Ambrose, a lot of people have made comments regarding this back and forth on INEC's powers or ability, or following the due process to deregister political parties. I wonder what comes to you. I wonder what you think about this first.
First of all, I was the 2019 election, the number of political parties that participated in the election was a huge joke to me. How can we have up to 90-something political parties jostling for how many positions? I think what INEC should do is not about deregistering or re-registering or all these arguments. What INEC should do, and try to maybe, if it needs to enter the Constitution, is to what we call categorize political parties and their participation in election. They should bring out a bill or whatever it is that may make that policy workable, where the local government elections, state government elections, federal elections should be categorized. For example, a political party can come out and say, okay, I'm only interested in contesting for the councillorship or local government chairmanship of my area. And that is where they will register. So they can register that as a local party. Then you can now register something as maybe a state party. We'll say, okay, I want to contest for the State House of Assembly, I want to contest for the governorship, and then we should have regional parties that can be for the region, and then we cannot have national political parties where they cannot contest at that level. But a situation where both the pretenders and the contenders are allowed to contest for national positions, it makes mockery of the whole exercise. We solve the problem, the issues of trying to go through all the political parties during the collation of the 2019 election, and it was so difficult to achieve. While I agree that all Nigerians have the right to political participation, but we also have the right as a people to regulate such participation so that it will not make mockery of. In America, for example, United States, that we are trying to copy their democracy, we have a lot of political parties in the United States of America. But when it comes to national elections, you only hear mostly of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. I mean, that is an organized system. So
all right,
if we want to copy, we should copy things that will make it easier for our democratic process to, develop.
Okay, Ambrose, we'll come back to you on this. Jide, let me bring you into this discussion now. A lot of people, if you look, the laws establishing INEC gives it powers to, decide associations that can become political parties with all the criteria. So INEC has its own discretion, because a lot of associations applied to become political parties. It was within INEC's discretion to say, you met the criteria, you didn't meet the criteria, and all of that. So at what point would it not be appropriate for INEC to say, okay, fine, you know what, based on our criteria, you didn't meet the sustenance of this criteria, so we deregister you. Are the courts setting confusion into the system?
I don't see any confusion here.
Okay.
The position of the court is not that INEC does not have the latitude to deregister parties, but that INEC did not follow due process. So we need to identify that clearly, and that must have been based on the law presented to the court. So, and then INEC can proceed to the Supreme Court. This is the appeal court. We have three basic levels. We have the trial court, you have the appeal court, you have the Supreme Court. And I think INEC is doing that to say, no, we follow. So let the INEC go and prove to the Supreme Court that they followed due process. But like Mr. Ambrose, wisely mentioned, I think political parties should be more engaging. I'm worried, and I think INEC also should be moving in the direction of making political parties active. There are several issues in the country that some parties, even if they have not won elections on prominent platforms, should engage. We have education, we have health, we have insecurity, we have the economy, several issues. Not that the clamor should be towards winning elections. So, like I said, the Supreme Court is waiting if INEC does not want to surrender at this point. Because one of the reasons given is that the party must be able to win at least 25% of election in one state. And also that there are many parties that do not even have structure. And we have 36 states, we have 774 local government areas. You talk about the ward level. So how effective are the political parties? And talking about having many political parties, we should ask, can we afford it? Is it healthy for our age of democracy? I mean, there are other parties in the United States of America, but the dominant parties are the Democrats and the Republicans. But other parties engage issues in the UK and across the world.
Levels
so
too.
We should go back to governance as the prominent issue, not politicking, because you would have noticed that many parties will collapse their interests and support some prominent parties. So sometimes they are kept aside like stooges to just come on board and support
align.
some other parties to
Okay.
win. And
All
I
right.
doubt if that will help us.
Okay, we have to leave it here now. Jide Logun, thank you so much for your time on the program.
God bless
Thank you.
Nigeria.
Ambrose, thank you so much for your wise insight this morning, as Jide puts it. Thank you very much.
Let's head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the blueprint. Matawale's bombshell, past-seeking politicians gaining from Nigeria's security crisis. Injustice fueling southern Kaduna killings, Catholic bishops. All right, we'll move on now to the front page of the News Direct. Governors demand bailout for security as Buhari announces arrival of new weapons from Jordan, China, US. On the front page of the Daily Trust, governors to Buhari give us bailout for security. Request not justifiable, CSOs. President queries security chiefs over terrorist weapons. And to the front page of the Leadership newspaper, governors seek a bailout from federal government to tackle insecurity, link insurgency, banditry, others to poverty, unemployment. Say federal government doesn't need appropriation to fund security. Well, security issues should not be politicized. Matawali, we'll be looking at this story shortly. To the front page of the national economy now, federal government plans 300 industrial parks nationwide, woos investors. And finally, CBN's exchange rates unification alarms economists, manufacturers. All right, gentlemen, we're looking at this story on the front page of the Leadership newspaper, talking about governors seeking a bailout to tackle insecurity. And this is stemming from the meeting held yesterday by governors, and a majority of the governors asking for this are those of the northeast, northwest, where a lot of issues of insurgency and banditry have been ongoing for some time now. I wonder how this comes to you. I'll start with you, Ambrose, because the CSOs are saying that this is not justifiable. This request is not justifiable. What do you make of this? Is it justifiable, the request by governors?
Well, the justification of the request by the governors is determined or has to be put in context with the reality on ground. The request is typical of treating a symptom of a disease instead of looking for the root cause. Why is security escalating? The governors are not talking about that.
They have.
Why has...
They have. They said poverty...
What are the prognosis of the escalation of the security problem that have offered? To nip them in the bud, the curative
Ambrose,
prescriptions.
if I may interrupt you quickly, the governors have said that poverty is one of the issues that has given rise to the continuous activities of banditry and even insecurity across their states. And they also touched on issues of mistrust among citizens and security agencies.
Well, that is just plain to go. Poverty is affecting every part of the country. Poverty is a big problem. It's the remote cause. It's not the immediate cause. The immediate cause of insecurity in the north is not poverty. Poverty has always been in the north. Poverty has always been in the south. Poverty has always been with Nigerians since at least the 1980s till now. So, and we didn't have, this is kind of insurgents in the 90s. We didn't have them in the 80s, apart from the Metasenia and some other little clash here. But what we are now saying is that the escalation towards it is not what we are talking about. Then the governors, if they say it's a poverty, why are they now requesting for money to is it money they are requesting for security that will solve the poverty problem? The poverty problem is a systemic problem. And therefore, we have the poverty alleviation that they have been doing. And we have all kinds of, like Northeast Development Commission is there and other things. So that is not the problem. The problem of insecurity is deep-rooted. And we need to talk about it because there's a political will to fight the insurgency is what will make it go away. The governors requesting for more funds, what are they going to do with it? First of all, they are not the ones prosecuting the war against the insurgents. They are not the ones fighting against the insurgents. They are just they are security officers of their state on paper. The Commissioner of Police takes orders from the man in Abuja. The GOC of the divisions take instructions from the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, or Chief of Air Staff. So what we are now saying is that it is a misplaced request. What they should be tackling or advocating for is to tell the Commander-in-Chief to immediately rout these insurgents. Like the Commander-in-Chief was asking, where are the weapons coming from since the borders, international borders have been closed, even air has been closed. These are salient questions that his service chiefs to answer. And that is the pressure the governor should be giving to the federal government via the Commander-in-Chief to ensure that the military, the police, and all the armed forces that are engaged in fighting the Boko Haram, in fighting the insurgents or the bandits or in whatever nomenclature they call them, to tackle them and have the political will to decimate them immediately. Asking
we have to bring the conversation into the studio now, Ambrose, or hold your thoughts for a minute now. Jide, the governors are asking for a bailout to tackle insecurity, and stemming from what Ambrose has said, he said they are not the ones fighting this war, and so asking for money, it's like a misplaced priority. I wonder what you make of
that request is given birth to by frustration. If you look at the high level of insecurity in the country, it appears that the federal government is unable to handle it. And one of the issues mentioned by the governors is the fact that $1 billion was withdrawn from the excess crude account by the federal government, I think about 2 years ago, with the permission of the governors. And if, as at that point in time, exchange rate was 360 naira to a dollar, so that was 360 billion naira. And the case is getting worse. So maybe they are just trying to come out of the water. Recall that the governor of Borno State himself was harassed by these terrorists recently. So for me, I think pressure should be put on the federal government. Even if bailout fund is given to the state, can they control the Inspector General of Police? Can they give directives to the Controller General of Customs? And I stand to say, and I maintain my position, that it's as if this country is not just ready to deal with the situation. Now, the government is telling us we are bringing it more weapons from Jordan, from US
and China.
So we are now investing in weapons. Is warfare the future of Nigeria? You know, Mr. Ambrose just mentioned now, we are not even addressing the root causes. Today is the International Day of Youth, and the theme is engaging the youth for global action. Are we rightly positioned globally to add value? And we are talking of what is insurgency? Insurgency is fighting for a cause. So it's a jihadist war, fighting for any cause. And my president, whom I respect so much, is bothered about how weapons come into this country. And the Controller General of Customs was appointed by you, sir. Foreigners are coming into this country that we register.
Are you saying what we need
have
is
the
not
immigration
weapons? Because if we are to fight this war, what do we need? If you're saying that acquiring weapons is not what we need.
You see, my opinion, and I own it, is the fact that we have tolerated this warfare. Let me ask a simple question. Now, I mean, do you know what $1 billion could have done? Even in the education sector. All right? And right now, soldiers have been killed, policemen have been killed, and there is a report now by the former deputy governor of CBN who said, some of the repentant terrorists told him that the governor is the leader of Boko Haram. All right? And these are issues. So I think this is a war we are tolerating. And when we have facts like that, and he also alleged, reportedly, that they were moving weapons even during the COVID-19 lockdown. This is a country, and the ball stops on the table of he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. I have expressed my concern for the northern part of this country.
So if we are to tackle this, because of the want of time, I want us to quickly touch on this issue. If we are to tackle this, the root causes, where do we begin from and how?
You see, Nigerians have said, replace the service chiefs. In fact, one of the issues the governors raised is that there is no synergy between the military and the security operatives. So, and if that will not help, I mean, I think we are just tolerating. The president promised towards 2015 election to deal with insecurity. to fix the economy of this country, and of course to fight corruption. And those political promises are there. They are contractual pronouncements. Have we delivered on them? Look at what insecurity is doing to us. Highest level of poverty. We are importing weapons from China. Is China fighting insurgency? Importing weapons from Jordan. Is Jordan importing weapons from America, enriching them to develop their own economies. And I think that when these people are tired of driving Nigeria as the capital of poverty, something great will happen. But there is a mandate on leadership to bring prosperity to the nation. We are tired. People, and the same government will come out to tell us why people are not investing in Nigeria is because of the insecurity. We know what to do. Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended says that security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Can we now then claim that we have an effective government? That's my own concern.
All right, a very pertinent question there, but I must thank you, Jide Ologun, for your time on the newspaper review this morning. Ambrose Igboke, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much, Veronica.